Hey guys, it's Jesse and Jeremy from Passfire. We got an unboxing video for you today. We just picked up this ARP 2600 from Behringer. So it's a remake of the original 2600. We got this to do some soundtrack stuff. We're working on a new fireworks video series called Passfire Maximum Load Overloaded. So we're going to write some of our own music for that. And we wanted a semi-modular analog synth to do that. We've already got a ARP Odyssey that we've been using, which is pretty cool, but we wanted to add some semi-analog and semi-modular ability to that to make our soundtrack. So we're going to open this up here. We just got it from Sweetwater. Haven't even opened the box yet. We're going to take a look at what's inside. So, Jared, if you want to...
All right, let's check it out. I'm pretty excited about this. This is like, you know, a remake of a real classic here. Something that I've always wanted to play with. Let me get my...
Yeah, I remember, I mean, when we first got into, like, analog stuff, this is like when we first got into music back in the mid-90s, you know, you'd read about the original ARP 2600 modular, and it was, you know, it was a real legend, but they were hard to come by, huge, very expensive even at the time, and, you know, just had a lot of upkeep. You know, you dealt with analog oscillators that would get out of tune.
Yeah, you have to tune them.
So what we got there? We're opening up. We got a manual, right?
Yep, we got our manual here. Nice little Behringer sticker, or Behringer, I'm not sure exactly. Some people say it one way, some people say it the other. So we got our sticker. Quick start guide, all the usual stuff. You know, they say read the manual first. We'll get there, but I just want to see the unit itself.
And this was, I think, $650 on Sweetwater. I think they started out a little lower actually when they first came out, but like everything, the price has been kind of climbing up.
Yeah. All right, we got our adapter, I assume. We'll just...
So that's the AC adapter. So just plug this thing
in with AC. Yep.
Standard wall wart, or does it have a plug on it?
Yeah, it's actually... Actually, this is great. This is not a wall wart. It's got your... you know, your plug there.
Yeah, so you can plug your AC in that way. You're not taking up extra space on your adapter or your wall socket. So that's nice.
Yep, that's good. Just looking at 12 volt, 2 amp. So yeah, it's 24 watts. So yeah, it's, you know, healthy amount of power there. That's a little more powerful than like your generic wall wart for charging your phone or something. Yeah, well, here we go. We're gonna pull this bad boy out. Let's see how hefty it is. It looks, from looking at it, looks pretty solid.
Now this, I remember when we got the ARP Odyssey, that was nice. It actually came with a case, carry case. This doesn't come with an extra case. I suppose you could get one, but you'd have to pay for it.
Here's our plug for the adapter here. I'm just gonna...
All right, so it's our adapter plug. We're gonna pull out
this off. Nicely packed. Very, very cool. Yeah, it's got some weight to it, which tells me that it's, you know, people wonder is the Behringer stuff how well built it is. It, at least from here, feels pretty solid.
And what's cool about these two, right, is, I mean, they are like an analog signal path, but it's got MIDI, right? I think it's also got CV. We gotta take a look at that.
Yeah, basically any of these plugs will be as far as I understand it, will be a full analog control voltage signal, which means that, yeah, a voltage will control that part of the circuit. It also means that if you have other CV equipment, that you could plug that in as well. Of course, different CV things have different voltages, so there may be, you know, if you wanted to use this with a Moog or something like that, I guess you might need some kind of voltage adapter, possibly.
Want some scissors there?
Yeah, scissors. But yeah, I guess the control voltage functionality is really gonna make this thing, you know, give it some really deep options. You know, pretty much way more than what you could possibly do on like, you know, its cousin there, the ARP Odyssey.
Right, because then you can really start doing some analog hacking and, you know, really getting into just patching outputs to inputs and...
Yep. get really experimental. And I guess fun fact for those of you who don't know, the voice of R2-D2 on Star Wars was made with an ARP 2600. And you know, those sounds are kind of unusual for your generic keyboard synthesizer. So you can tell with something with CV, you can get some pretty weird sounds. Oops, that's just our silica gel there. Keep it dry. All right.
All right. Well, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
That looks pretty amazing. Let's put that down on the table there so we can get a good look at it. So now this is a 8U, so 8 unit rack mount semi-modular synth, but it, as you can see, it just sits really nicely on a desk.
Yeah, it has an angle to it.
Yeah, you can see that here. So it's got a nice angle. You can just put it right on your desk or tabletop, or you can mount it in a rack too. So we don't have a rack today, but I was looking at Amazon. They got some 8U racks. They're desk mount desktop racks for like $45. Yeah. So this thing looks pretty cool. Now, I didn't see any patch cables in there, did you?
Ah, yes, you are right. There are no patch cables.
So yeah, it doesn't come with patch cables. So we've got some patch cables for the Korg MS-20 here. I got those right here. Slide those out. So we can use those. They're 1/8 inch. But yeah, that's definitely an added expense. You will want some patch cables for this because you can see it is semi-modular, meaning that you can patch signals from one part of the synth into another part. Yeah. So we're going to plug this in now.
So I got this plugged into the wall. We're just going to do that. Oh, and on the topic of the patched cables, I can see that we'll be able to do a number of things with this length of patch cable here, but it's going to be really hard if we say wanted to patch a patch from here to there. So, you know, when you're ordering your patch cables, you probably want to get a selection of shorter ones and some longer ones, maybe even more than a foot, maybe 2 feet.
Right. I mean, again, you can just see how much bigger this is, 8 rack units versus the Korg MS-20, where that's the patch bay area on the MS-20. So those short cables work fine for that. But on the ARP 2600, you've got a lot more real estate.
Yeah. Which is good too. You know, I mean, you're not trying to pack too much into a small space. You have room to fiddle with things and turn your sliders and what. So I'm just going to plug this adapter in on the back. Okay, so we got our power here, and of course your standard little doohickey that you, whatever, you know.
Don't get that way. You just have to pull your cord out. Yeah. You know, if you yank on it. Yeah. And then looks like your hands there, but I see a USB.
Right.
Couple MIDI in, and is that a through? So that's nice. That supports. You know, MIDI is a pretty old protocol now, but still supported.
Yep.
And then what else?
I would guess, I'll have to check the manual. This is just a guess that probably has something to do with changing what MIDI channels, because I'm seeing 1 through 16, so I assume that's how you set what your MIDI channel is. And actually, I was talking to someone about this, and they're like, "Oh, I got to figure out how to change the MIDI channel." So my guess is that's where you do it. But we'll find out after we play with it some more. Now we do have a couple things that look like they're for your analog foot switches. So this would probably turn, from what I could tell, would turn your portamento on or off. And then I assume this adjusts the brightness of your LEDs on the panel.
Right.
So
and I don't think the original ARP had that.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. And again, it has a good weight to it. Not that it's too heavy, but it feels like it's probably pretty well built. So here we go. Power on off. See, it does help to read the manual first, but we're just too excited to get into the manual right now. Wow. So lots of really pretty colored.
Can you turn that LED knob on the back?
Yeah, let's give that a little tweak here. Let's see. So that's down.
So you can turn it all the way off.
Which could be useful if you're playing a show or something live, you're at night. Sometimes when your LEDs are too bright, they can almost sort of blind you. But then if you're playing in a area with a lot of light, it gets quite bright.
Yeah, that's really bright. That's pretty.
Yep. And that is nice. Sometimes I almost find, halfway is good, because if it's so bright, it's almost then hard to read what's written on the panel. So it's nice that it has the adjustment. Actually, a lot of gear these days doesn't, and a common complaint is that LEDs are too bright.
Yep. All right, well, we should probably patch it into the mixer and see what we can do.
All right. Let's see.
I think our main outputs are in the front there, right?
In fact. Yep.
So we got 1/4 inch main outputs.
It does. It is stereo, and I mean, it has two outputs. I'm curious
what that gets us.
What that gets us. It does have a. I see it has like reverb, for example. So it's. I would guess the reverb itself is going to certainly have a stereo effect to it. But something like the oscillators themselves are going to essentially be a mono signal. So in that sense, it's a bit of a hybrid, I guess you could say, between some mono signal path and then eventually a stereo signal.
So we're going to plug that into our little sub board here. This is a little Mackie 402 4-channel board that goes into our bigger mixer and then into the amplifier.
So I guess
we could probably just go in on channel, unplug that little cord monotron, go on channels 1 and 2 on that.
Yeah, and we'll do a quick just leveling of the gain.
Yeah.
Nothing too precise here, but. Okay.
All right, so we're wired in there. I think now we just need some MIDI. All right, so we're actually going to run this thing off of our Novation base station here. We just like this keyboard. It's just the way we have it wired. It's pretty convenient. And then Joe's got a cable there, and we're just going to plug that in.
Yep. So this will go to our MIDI in, obviously. Oh, we need a little bit of slack, but I think we can get it.
And that still lets you put it flush on the table. It's not like anything sticking out at the very back. So we got that wired in now, so we'll get things fired up. So what do we figure out here?
Well, there is of course a lot going on, but one of the key things is right now we're just hearing, just to keep it simple, we're just going to listen to oscillator 1. So we got to make sure here we got that turned up. We have our 2 envelope generator, or our AR generator and our ADSR. We're going to keep it simple with the AR. And so in order for that to work, we have to make sure that the signal's going through the voltage controlled amplifier, and we want that amplifier to be controlled by our AR. So that's this slider. And then you want to make sure your VCF is turned up, or your VCA.
Right, and we don't want the initial gain up because that just makes it drone.
Yep.
So we want to turn that down.
Yep. So yeah, this is just a very simple patch where we're just hearing oscillator 1, and we'll give it a little, we'll open up the filter so we can hear that more. Now let's just hear what oscillator 2 is doing. So to do that, we'll go to VCO 2, and you can hear that's this guy. And then we can even add in the third. Which is a little quiet. There we go. So you can, that's with all 3 oscillators going. And we got some other crazy things affecting them right now. But it gives you an idea. You can of course control the filter, which has 2 modes, which I guess when they made the original one, there were 2 models that had 2 different filters. And that's no attack, no release, so it's just kind of gate.
It's like some good Nintendo music there.
Yeah. So, that's a very basic patch. We haven't used patch cables, it's just internal patching.
And what's this ring modulator do here?
Ooh, well, let's see. I don't know. I haven't really messed with that yet, but let's see if we can.
So we're hearing what's coming out there, but do we have to feed? Yeah, we have to feed it in there.
And here's the ring mod section.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's different things you can feed into your ring mod. Probably a voltage control versus. It looks like you could put an audio signal in there. So. Ooh, that's pretty gnarly.
You can throw a little noise in there too, right?
Yep.
Is there a noise mix that we have to turn up somewhere?
That's right, there probably is. That's gonna be probably... I think it's a little quiet, probably just with all the other things, but I think that's our noise mix there.
Cool. All right, well there it is. So we got it unboxed and we got it working for now. We're still trying to figure out, definitely a lot of stuff to do here. I think that's going to have to be another video. But there you have it. That's what's in the ARP 2600 box from Behringer. Or Behringer, as some people say, no patch cables, so make sure you get some longer than the ones we have. And there's a whole lot of stuff to explore here. It's been Jesse and Jeremy for Pacifier. Looking forward to seeing you next time with once we figure this thing out.